Welcome to The Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. It's true, the resale trend is here to stay, but it doesn't look like the resale retail spaces we might be thinking of. Departing from dusty, consignment-style stores, the resale space now has a new look and feel. The founder of Mine and Yours, Courtney Watkins, talks about riding the rising wave of luxury fashion resale. In this episode, Courtney and I talk about her unique origin story as she carved out a space for herself in the fashion industry she loves. She shares her insights on navigating e-commerce with such fluid and unique stock, engaging with buyers and sellers, and building a strong online and in-person community.
Yeah, I think it's real, it's growing, and it's here to stay, is my opinion.
Right on.
And we've seen that in our customer. When we started, our average customer was more in that kind of 25 to 35 age bracket, where now, I mean, we have moms, grandmas, and they're all kind of families shopping together because we have so many different varieties of brands and products.
Let's listen in now. Courtney, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. And I say good morning. You're on the West Coast. I'm on the Eastish Coast. You're based in, I think, in or around Vancouver. Is that right?
Yes, right in Vancouver. But it's 10:30 on a Monday. That definitely feels like a morning still.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, listen, thanks so much for joining me. I mean, I talk to a lot of retailers, and oftentimes, but not entirely, there's this intersection between the personal and the professional. In your case, that really seems to jump out at me. So why don't we start at the beginning? Tell me about yourself, your personal, professional journey, and what brought you into retail.
My name's Courtney. I'm the owner and CEO of Mine and Yours. And I've always loved fashion. I found my grade 7 yearbook actually a few years ago, and it was like, I'm going to own a clothing store. And I did it.
Yeah.
So I moved down to LA right after school and went to FITM, so the Fashion Institute down there. And then had worked in many different aspects of the fashion industry, trend forecasting. I was a celebrity stylist for a while. Wholesale, retail, really.
Hold on. Talk about that a bit. A celebrity stylist.
Yeah.
What did that involve? Like, I actually know FITM. I know of them because one of my podcast interviews with the great guy, Ron Thurston, who's written a fantastic book on retail. He's out of FITM as well. So great institution.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I had so much fun down there.
And how did you wind up as a celebrity stylist? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I took an internship. That's where I did tons of interning while I was at school. So I took an internship right when I graduated for, I can't remember what it was. It was a commercial and then from that, he started working with, it was Paula Abdul. And then, someone got fired, and next thing you know, there was an opening, and I was kind of in.
Welcome to LA.
Yeah.
Well, what was that like? I mean, is it a rigorous plan? Is it kind of ad hoc? How do you approach something like that? Figuring out the personality and where you want to go, and tell me a bit about that.
I would say it's definitely not as glamorous as one might think. A lot of schlepping around. I would compare as a stylist, but it was a short-lived styling, and I ended up becoming a personal assistant. So the clothing was just a very small portion of it. Shopping, finding outfits for different events, talking to designers. We had some award shows, but a lot of it, you get very wrapped up in a celebrity personality, I find, when you're working for them. And I had no experience assisting. I actually think I'm kind of unorganized. So the fact that I organized someone's life, I don't know how I did it. But yeah, it was a really, it was a fun experience. It was definitely like high stress, long hours, but I learned a lot, and it was definitely a pretty cool experience.
Oh, that's cool. I did a fair bit of work with celebrities myself because I was with the Shopping Channel here in Canada for a bunch of years, and we had a lot of people come through, the Kim Kardashians of the world and other kind of celebrities. And you get, one thing that struck me is how hard they work. on the outside in, it's like, hey, how hard can it be to be you? And it's actually pretty hard. They work really, really hard, right?
Yeah, we actually had I quit in a limo ride on the way to the home shopping network. She had I can't remember what it was. It was a jewelry line or a clothing line, but we were going to launch something.
Yeah.
And I kind of had it at that point and never got out of the limo.
Yeah, they just, anyway, we digress, but it's kind of interesting because it all circles around your passion around fashion and integrating fashion. Okay, so take us from where you didn't get out of the limo.
Yeah, I didn't get out of the limo. Then I was back and forth between Vancouver and LA for a few years, kind of trying to figure out where my place was. I loved LA, but I grew up outside of Vancouver and had never lived in the city, so I thought I would give it a chance. Love it now, but didn't like it my first time back. And then I ended up going back to LA, and so I'd always worked in fashion until I took over my family business. So I moved back to Vancouver full time about 10 years ago, and I took over the family sawmill, so S&W Forest Products.
Yeah.
So definitely
Sneakers and shakes, right?
Yes, yeah, shakes and shingles, exactly.
Shakes and shingles, all right.
So that was very obviously a little different than selling clothes, but it was a real good learning experience of how to run a company. And I ran that for 2.5 years with my brother, and then just realized, I stopped wearing makeup. I was wearing Uggs every day. I turned into a sawmill owner essentially. And I think I gave myself a look in the mirror one day and I'm like, this is not what I want to do. Wood is not my passion. I need to get back into the fashion industry.
Right.
So I had put it out there. I wanted to get back into fashion. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was still kind of needed at the family business, but I was shortly after introduced to a girl who had also lived down in LA, and we both realized, there was a lot of these curated buy-sell trade stores that, made it really easy to sell your clothes. They had a cool experience, and we had both shopped at those, but there was nothing like it in Vancouver. So about 6 months after we met, we did a trip down to LA together, realized we got along well, and we opened our first Mine and Yours location, which was a live-work townhouse. Our store was about 300 square feet.
Well, all right. Tell me about Mine and Yours. Tell me about the concept. I guess you've just introduced a bit of the origin story, but tell us about it. How do you go to market? What's your merchandising customer strategy? Give us.
Okay, yeah. So Mine and Yours is a luxury resale store. So we buy, sell, trade, and consign a curated collection of mostly luxury goods, but we also do some more mid-level price point as well. We've started off with all women's, but we just started with some children's and men's in the last couple months. So yeah, our price points really vary. We have some dresses and outfits in our store from kind of that $55 to $75 price point, but then we also have quite a few $5,000-$6,000 Chanel bags as well.
And I see your model is, as a customer who wants to engage with you, you've got kind of a 3-tier approach, right? You say, well, if you want just cash, if you want to trade, or you want, on consignment, you have different levels, right? So it's a pretty interesting approach. You've got a choice as a consumer about how to do business with you, right?
Yeah. And we started by mostly offering cash and store credit because that kind of differentiated us from our competitors. No one else was really doing that. But as we get more and more high-end product, we're finding that we're doing more consignment because with consignment, we have the ability to offer our customer more because we're not paying for it up front. So personally, if I'm going to sell a Chanel bag at $5,000, I'd rather wait, whether it's a couple weeks or even a couple months, and see when it sells and be able to get that higher payout.
Right on. And so I guess a lot of that work behind the scenes is validating the authenticity. I mean, that's a big role for luxury resellers, right? Is to for your customers is to validate that what you have in the store is real, is really authentic, right? And tell me about that. How do you walk through that? I guess you're obviously your experience in the industry. You've been doing this 7 years, right? You've been at this for at least 7 years, plus your fashion background. How do you approach that? Do you the tricks of the trade behind that?
Yeah, there definitely is some, and that is a big part of our business because we have 100% authenticity guarantee. So if anything, if we were ever to sell something fake, we full money back guarantee. And luckily it doesn't happen often, but if
it can happen, right? I mean, it happens to Sotheby's. It's going to happen every now and then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I had a Goyard tote that someone had bought from us 5 years ago, and somehow it got missed in our authentication. And 4 years later, she questioned it, and we apologized and figured out what happened and gave her money back. But now we make sure every item that comes in goes through a couple checks. So we do an in-house authentication, and we have, just trained on what different brand labels look like, stitching look like. We have really good relationships with a lot of our customers or a lot of our suppliers. So that helps too, just knowing who you're getting the product for. But then for handbags, we use a third-party authentication company called Entropy, as well as our in-house. So first it passes the in-house, and then we send it into Entropy, which is a kind of a machine hooked up to your iPhone, and it takes photos of the bag in certain spots and then uploads it. And they have taken those photos of the bags themselves. So it runs it through some type of algorithm and tells you whether it can verify its authenticity or not.
Wow, that's pretty cool. All right. So obviously a big part of your brand is that authenticity. I love the guarantee approach. That seems to cover all the bases. Let's talk about your typical customer. Who walks in the store? What's been your experience over the past 7 years? I was recently asked by a reporter if the trend of resale is real, if it's growing, if it's here to stay. So tell me about your customer.
Yeah, I think it's real, it's growing, and it's here to stay, is my opinion. Right on. And we've seen that in our customer. When we started, our average customer was more in that kind of 25 to 35 age bracket, where now, we have moms, grandmas, and they're all kind of families shopping together because we have so many different varieties of brands and products. But our typical, we have a customer, we have a supplier, and then we have a customer and supplier. So we have kind of 3 different target demographics. Our key suppliers are probably 35 to 55, maybe even slightly older, pretty higher income bracket. And they're the category that I've seen increase a lot more in the last few years, where, maybe it was a little bit younger and people that were just trying to save money shopping secondhand. And now it's people that don't need to save money, but know they can, get something at half the price at Mine and Yours, whether they're buying it at Holtz are shopping and selling at Mine and Yours.
It's interesting because, as you said, perhaps earlier on, and of course, the younger you are, it's more aspirational and you want an original, but you may not have the funds. But I think a bit of boredom comes into play. Would you agree that people are saying, listen, I have this handbag, I've had it for a bunch of years, I loved it. I love it a bit less now, I'd love something else. Yeah,
I got a photo on Instagram of me wearing it, it's done. It's time for something new.
Instagrammable moments. I'm out there, I've done it now, I want to do something different.
Yeah, so with dresses too, like a dress you're wearing to an event and you've seen all your friends there and been photographed in it. You could definitely wear it again, but a lot of times people enjoy that hunt for the new dress for the new occasion.
Sure. I can see 2 kind of segments. One who goes to a lot of events and doesn't want to wear or bring the same thing to the same events, and someone who doesn't go to a lot of events and really doesn't want to spend an entirely that much money, but still wants to show well. Do you see some of that in your store as well?
Yeah. And if let's say you're going to an event and the dress would have been $500 at a regular store, you get it at Mine and Yours for $150, and then you trade it back to us, a month later, you get $75 to use in the store. Well, that dress costs you $75 instead of $500.
So I've talked to other people in the industry, the reuse industry, and the forecasts are pretty ambitious that, reuse can be bigger than fast fashion someday. Are you seeing momentum on the street from fast fashion moving in the direction of resale? Right now, fast fashion dwarfs resale by dollars, but in 5-10 years, what do you think? Is it that strong a trajectory?
I think is, but because a lot of it is due to sustainability. Like people are caring a lot more about fast fashion and what that does for the environment. Being able to spend a similar amount of money on an outfit that's used instead of fast fashion and is repurposed or recycled instead of at, a fast fashion brand. I think that is, that's what's really kind of kicking off the trend.
We're early days into what I've called the post-COVID era. Let's hope it stays the post-COVID era.
I know. I sure hope so.
Fingers crossed. But the trajectory is pretty good in Canada, right? A vaccination, it's 2 shots to open up the market, right? So
yes, yeah.
Things are good so far. Did you notice any difference in the way people shopped or how they shopped? I've heard some retailers say that more and more consumers are more concerned about things like sustainability because they had 18 months to think about it.
Yeah.
Any observations from your customer base in terms of how they've changed and how they might change in the future?
We've been seeing, I've always heard of my customers caring about sustainability because that's something we talk about as well. So maybe that's increased a little bit, but also people just caring about how they spend their money, even though actually a lot of our customers in COVID, because they weren't traveling and they weren't, spending it on entertainment as much, have even gotten more money to spend. I think people are seeming to be a little more cautious about where they spend it, and how they spend.
Is it cautious or conscience, do you think?
Yeah.
Not conscience, but more awareness of what they're doing, do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe 18 months at home, able to think of, what they were spending their money on and just being a little more mindful of it.
I'm sure for your business, like other apparel businesses, the return to normal life will be more than helpful, whether that's return to work or, return to going out and actually doing the things we all enjoyed to do in the before time.
Yeah.
What about online? So what do you do in terms of online? You have a site I saw for sure.
Yeah.
You mostly, it looks like you can send product in, but tell me about your online strategy.
Yeah, we, before online was only about 20% of our business. And I always thought it would be more. And as we grew our online, our in-store business just always grew quicker until COVID hit. Then we closed down the store for a couple months. And that's when we got a better system to get everything up online. So we turned our whole store into a photo studio and we just shot everything that we had. And now it's on, 80, 90% of our inventory is online. But we still do more in store than on our e-commerce, on our online site, though. Right. A lot of people see the product. Even our online customers, a lot of them live locally, so they'll see the product and then come in the store with the photograph on their phone, and they're looking for that specific product. So
they'll shop you online and do the purchase in store. Maybe they'll have a second look at it or just whatever they want to do, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then we also do buying online too. So you can go to our website and submit photos and the description of your items, and then we will email you back a quote. If you accept it, we'll send you a shipping label, and you can bring your product in. You can ship your product in, and we'll just e-transfer you the money or send you the store credit.
Canada's seen one of the world's biggest leaps in e-commerce, 75% year over year last year. I think only Argentina had a bigger growth by percentage.
Oh, wow. I realized it was that big.
Yeah, it was huge, actually. Yeah. All categories, including grocery, apparel, a little less in apparel just because the demand wasn't there as much. But the percentage, of course, here in Ontario where I am, stores are closed for 155 days. So,
wow.
If you can imagine.
I can't.
Yeah, it was very tough, very tough.
Yeah, I feel really lucky, even though it was still 2 months of closed and a weird year, at least I was able to be somewhat open through a lot of it.
Yeah, you made it through. Do you think there's enough momentum to carry online shopping that one day more transacted online, not even just shop, but transacted online with you? Or do you think there'll always be a healthy, like if you had $1 left in your budget, would you open a new store or would you put that dollar into your website?
Well, I'm about to open a new store, so I guess I would do that.
All right.
But I do see my online business has grown a lot more than my retail business over the last year. And I think that, right now I'm at 40-60 flipped. 40% is online. And I think by the next year, even with a new store, the next 2 years, it'll go the other way. So 60 online, 40 in store.
Let's talk about what you've learned doing this journey of yours that you've been on for 7+ years. Any piece of advice for someone who's looking to get into retail or get into their own independent type of retail environment? What jumps out at you saying, do these things and you will have a better chance of being successful?
Yeah. Okay. One would be just really get involved with your community. So we started Mine and Yours before we really started. We had reverse shopping parties and we went out there and talked to everyone that we knew and told them all to tell their friends. But just really, getting involved with your community, especially as a female entrepreneur, there's a lot of support out there. I'm a member of FWE, which is a forum for women of entrepreneurs. There's the Women's Enterprise Center, which helps with funding and loans. There's even just Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats. And especially at the beginning phase, a lot of people are really willing to help. So asking those questions, asking for support and joining whatever groups in your industry you can was a really big help, even now, but especially at the beginning.
What are your more successful marketing tactics on an ongoing basis? You talked about getting engaged with the community, but beside the business to business community, how do people find you? What have you found most successful?
Yeah, one is our events. So I love a good party. So it comes natural to me. But when we hopefully we'll be able to get to do them again soon. But over the last couple of years, or when we were growing, a lot of it was just having fun events at the store, inviting other businesses in, whether it's get your hair done, get your makeup done, but serving some champagne, getting a DJ, and just making it a really fun experience. Those were often good sales days. People were posting about them. People were bringing their friends and just making it kind of a fun experiential event rather than just shopping. And really, Instagram has been great for us. And that's especially our Instagram stories. We do a lot of business through there, and a lot of people find out about us from their first time by seeing us on Instagram.
And so I guess I could ask you the same question about store versus online in terms of your marketing budget. Your last dollar of marketing budget, where would you put it towards?
Instagram ads.
Right on. So that's a very powerful. What about TikTok or Snapchat? Is it? Have you tried them all and Instagram outperformed, or is it just you can only do so many things at one time?
Yeah, we did. I still haven't gotten TikTok down. During the pandemic, we started a TikTok account and we're playing around with it. But it didn't get a lot of traction. We are going to revisit it, but we just didn't see too many eyes on it. But it's probably it's tricky, Instagram, right? We didn't see that many eyes on it when we started either. It's just been 8 years of it. So we've gotten the traction.
So kind of a muscle memory, get used to it. There's no question. The people are there. It's just TikTok's a tricky one though, trying to figure it out what's gonna hit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's aging well, so to speak, like the age demographics going up nicely, as all social media tends to do. But anyway, I hear a lot about, I talk to a lot of retailers and a lot of them say exactly what you reflected, right? Instagram, particularly during the lockdown, for those retailers who, they just didn't see customers come in and browse and shop. That's like a consumer behavior that went away for 18 months, even if for many retailers, even if they were open, the consumer wasn't going to linger around too much. So they found that
in and out. And that's what we focused on, right? When we closed down was we put most of our efforts to creating content, posting more regularly, engaging on social. So that was a big, some of our sales staff essentially turned into social staff.
Oh, interesting. All right. So what would you have done differently? Looking back, knowing what you now know, anything jump out at you, say, we would have done this a bit different if I knew then what I know now?
Oh, that's a tough one. I had a lot of fun on this journey and I definitely made a lot of mistakes, but there's nothing there's nothing that really stands out for me. Even though, there were a lot of mistakes made, it's just learning from them.
Sure.
It's just kind of getting started and
jumping in.
Yeah. And learning along the way.
Yeah, jumping right in. All right. So you've already mentioned, I was going to say, what's next for mine and yours? Sounds like you're opening another store. Tell me about that and what you see down the road.
Yeah. So I'm so excited. It's supposed to launch the end of September. So a store almost double the size of our current location. And it will be, we're going to separate out a little bit more our luxury and mid-level contemporary price points. So the new store will just be more high-end designers, and then we'll be keeping the new or the current location as more of our mid-level price point. So that'll be happening September, and then looking to open a location in Toronto in 2022.
Well, that's exciting. Now, where's the new store going to be located? In Vancouver?
Yes, in Vancouver, in Yaletown.
Ah, very good. Very good. Well, listen, this is the longest time in my life, I guess, since I was a kid that I have not been to Vancouver. So I was in Vancouver in 2019 like 9 times. So I look forward to popping in the store and experiencing it myself.
Yeah, hopefully. I would love to have you in. And when we open in Toronto, you'll have to come check out that one as well.
Amazing. Look forward to doing that. That's exciting. Well, listen, thanks for joining me on the Voice of Retail podcast. I wish you much continued success. I look forward to popping in your store on both coasts shortly. And once again, thanks for sharing your journey and congratulations and best of luck for whatever comes next.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Voice of Retail. Be sure and follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy podcasts, so you don't miss out on the latest episodes, industry news, and insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating review, as it really helps us grow so that we continue to get amazing guests onto the show. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of LeBlanc Company Inc., and if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Until next time, stay safe, have a great week.